been, I don't know. It's been an interesting journey of vlogging, and for the past few days I've been kind of just doing short little uploads and not worrying so much about, well, anything really. I guess it's just me talking about whatever I want to talk about, and just being honest, and just, I don't know, doing simple shit, walking around. And I've liked making it. It's very casual, and like I realize, like, I don't know, my anxiety is kind of twofold sometimes. It's like part of me is like, oh, like I'm posting too much, like no one's gonna watch, like no one wants to watch, like I'm boring people, they're gonna unsubscribe, blah 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 blah. And then there's the other part that's like, if I don't post enough, it's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna lose momentum, like, oh my gosh, like people are gonna unsubscribe, like no one's gonna watch, like blah blah blah. And it's just like, I mean, there's no right answer, and I feel like the anxiety is actually the same, which is that there's a fear of failing, or maybe fear of judgment, fear of criticism, and all that shit. And so, yeah, it's been weird. But it's the strangest thing is that, like, at an intellectual level, I mean, I very much realize that, like, just like taking care of myself and like making sure that I'm in good health and in a good state, and like yeah, it's like kind of like, I guess maybe in a way, like, don't burn yourself to keep others warm. Like, when I create content, like, it should be for myself first, and like it should be content I actually want to make, and this and that. And worrying about, like, oh, like my content needs to be this, my content needs to be that, like people aren't gonna like it, blah blah blah. Like, worrying about the product and like the end result and like performance and all that isn't gonna help. It's gonna make things worse, and it's gonna make my own mental state worse. And the worse that is, then the worse my vibe will be, the worse my content will be. I'll be less in tune with myself, and I'll be thinking more, when in reality I think my best content is when I'm thinking the least. Oh, my shoulder hurts, I'm holding the camera. My best content is when I'm thinking the least, and just being, and just like being in tune with myself, and like not having to think about what I want to film or what I want to say or anything like that. And so, at an intellectual level it's there, but I think now it's about closing the gap between what I've come to believe intellectually and what, like, emotionally I believe. And like, I guess because just our behaviors are very much influenced by our emotions, and like there's often things controlling our behaviors and our decisions and our actions that are deeper, and we're often not aware of. So yeah. But I mean, the voices are definitely getting quieter. I'm definitely making progress. And it's funny because it's like, I mean, what they're telling me to do is what would make them louder. It'd be like, oh, stop talking, like, oh, you're losing people's interest, like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And so it's, I don't know, It's a battle. It's a war. But I think I'm coming out on top. We started playing music in English. I wonder if it's directed to me. Place was pretty good. Kind of tasted like mole, Mexican food, mole. I was surprised. And they also started playing, they had like an English pop hits playlist going on that they started soon after I arrived. And I was thinking like, first thought was like, oh, like, I wonder if they're playing it for me or like because of me, because I speak English and they want me to, whatever. And then in my mind I was like, oh, like, or not me necessarily, but like the negativity in my mind was like, oh, like the world doesn't revolve around you, like blah blah blah, like they probably just wanted to put it on and it was just coincidence, blah blah blah. And I mean, maybe, but there's nothing wrong with like, I mean, we're not our thoughts. There's nothing wrong with thinking things. And it's like kind of like in a joking way anyway. I know the world doesn't revolve around me. It doesn't revolve around any of us. We're all just a single human being in a vast world. But that's okay. But anyways, my typical schedule is to beat the heat and stay inside for these next few hours. So I'll do that probably, and then maybe do a little more vlogging in the evening, but we'll see. You never know. Alright, I'm off to a bit of a late start. It's already almost 5 p.m. But I don't know. It's the best I could do, I guess. Normally I guess the thing is like when it becomes like dusk, that's when like the dogs get aggressive. And that's when I'm afraid of getting aggressively approached by dogs again. But I guess that means I should just push myself to go out. So there's a temple 20 minutes away. By walking, I'm thinking of going there. Let's go. It's a lot of really cool alleyways to the side here. I'm a little tempted to divert from the temple. But at the same time, I'm feeling anxious to go to the temple because of the whole dog thing. So now I don't know which one's the right move here. Okay. Honestly, my brain's kind of beating me up here. And I was having trouble deciding whether to stick to what I plan to, or just going with my gut here and exploring these random streets. But I think at the end of the day, you gotta trust yourself, you gotta trust the vibes, and just let your feet lead. I guess there's like some good level of anxiety and concern because like I should worry about my safety, and I'm definitely not trying to put myself intentionally in dangerous situations, but I mean, it's still daylight. I should have a good amount of time of light still. So I'm gonna head this way, and let's see what we see. It's probably more interesting, but let's find out. It's definitely much quieter, which is a huge plus. The doji didn't like my presence, and I'm definitely getting people staring at me and wondering what I'm doing back here, but I guess that's expected. I'm not really sure what I'm doing at this point. Feeling pretty ass right now. My brain's pestering. I feel like I'm in a negative headspace. Like, I'm not filming anything cool, like nothing cool's happening, like I'm not doing anything cool, blah blah blah. She like that. I do feel like at some point, like, I do think that content would probably perform well if I'm like showing more than telling. But I guess, like, I want to be certain that I'm like, when I'm editing and I'm leaving things out, or like there are things that, like, you know, I say and I record, but then I'm like later I'm like, like it's not that important, or like it's not necessary, or the video is more interesting or better paced without it. Like, I want to be sure that the reason I'm leaving it out is because of that, like a conscious decision in regards to the content, and not because I'm afraid of what would happen if I leave it in. Because I feel like a lot of it right now is that I'm worried that if I talk too much and this and that, like my content's gonna fail and then I'm gonna fail. That's like the core anxiety. And that's what makes me wanna, sometimes my brain's like, oh, like, edit that out, or like no one wants to hear that, blah blah blah, this and that. And you know, maybe part of it is fear of failure, but part of it is probably also fear of judgment, fear of criticism, the usual. But yeah, seems I've returned to civilization, relatively, or more so. I know it's gonna feel like ass if I go into a store, a restaurant recording. My brain's already telling me that. But I feel like that's when it's most important to do it. I mean, it's interesting because like sometimes I do catch people looking at me. Most of the time it's just, I don't know, kind of neutral, maybe like a little judgmental looking, or like just confused or surprised. But there are a lot of times where I look over at someone and they're actually just like smiling very warmly. I don't know what they think. I don't know what I imagine. I guess they like seeing someone doing some random shit that looks kooky, maybe. That would be my guess. Alright, another thought that often pops into my mind is like after I pass someone and like they see me, like I think it's extra weird to like return. Especially if like I pass without my camera and then I return with my camera. And so I think I'm gonna do just that and walk into one of these restaurants right here. Sawadee-ka. Is this yours?
No.
Like
Ako eh.
Kagunka. I've been standing out here for a couple minutes. I don't know if she's ignoring me or she just thinks that I don't want anything, or I don't know what. She is busy cooking though, so probably has to do more of that. Okay, well, I don't know what's going on. She seems to just be ignoring me, so I guess I'll just move on. Sawadee-ka. I'm about to do something that gives me a lot of anxiety, which is talking to the camera by myself in a restaurant as I'm eating. It's already going pretty well. I made a menace of a decision and I got both a pasta carbonara and something else. Whenever I'm in foreign countries, that's usually the only time I eat Italian food because it's actually affordable and cheap. So we'll see what happens. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, that show was pretty good. I got well, I think I already said carbonara and some other seafood dish. But and I realized probably a lot of people are gonna think, oh my god, so much food. It is a lot of food. But I intermittent fast. I only eat 2 meals a day, and I'd only eaten one before, so that's why my meal was huge. But anyway, pretty good, pretty decent. Definitely not the best Italian food I've had. It was more like a frozen meal, but that's okay. It was like under $2, so I'll take it. This lady across the street that tried to get the attention of the lady that ignored me where I wanted to eat. She reminded me of a woman we rented bikes from a few days ago. It was like super like giddy, like gleeful, and just like touchy too. Like this lady was like grabbing my arm and like laughing, and I don't know, she just gave the same vibes. But she seemed very nice. I should have eaten at her restaurant. I would have eaten at her restaurant if I didn't already eat the same type of food for my first meal of the day. I just saw a dead cat. I'm not sure if that's something I can show on YouTube, but that was pretty disturbing. It's dusk, which I learned is when dogs get a little more cuckoo, and I see a lot of dogs, so I think I'm gonna take this halfway back and just call it motorcycle taxi. Okay, I think that's about it for me. I think I turned the day around somewhat, pretty decently. So, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, take care.